Good evening, Free Enterprise fans, and especially all you coming in hot off that RPG Limit Break race. Looking forward to finding out all about that later, but for now, we have a wonderful two pairs of racers ready to face off. We have Skarnerser versus CS Radical, of Bring Your Own Bacchus and Bibby and Jimmy World, respectively. We got John Burkhead versus Nightdew of Brewdew Attitude and Bold Strategy. I'm Leggy Starscream. Joining me in the booth is the ever wonderful Ali Sale. How you doing tonight?
I am doing fantastic, Leggy, and glad to be here because we've got some action that needs an audience. And we've got some great races. Of course, thank you to RPG Limit Break coming in. We have not started yet, but we are about to start. Remember, no spoilers or you get the bonk. But yeah, these are some objectives.
Yeah. We've got the Fame Arch bosses, we've got Masumune Alter Cave Bahamut, and Forge, as always. But now we've got our two early character checks in Burning Village Mist and Curing the Fever, as well as the Tower Key Locked Super Cannon Room. So all of the bonus objectives today require exactly one key item each to get rolling. Well, assuming you're underground, but I assume you're getting there eventually.
I mean, it is required. And I believe with this flag set, we do have Force Magma Key on, so you do not have to worry about a nasty hook route. And it looks like we have our Quake Kid as our hero tonight.
Yeah, that is actually one of the really nice heroes I found in my practice for this tournament. Palub has access to Warp at level 29, which is super useful because we do have the Warp glitch enabled. And since we don't have to do the Sealed Cave, that means we don't have to deal with who's ever there. Additionally, with K-Trap on, there are a lot of packs of little enemies that Quake Kid will live up to his namesake, send out an earthquake, send him on the way home, and maybe we'll even pull a key item out of those boxes.
And K-Trap, of course, this is one of the, this is the first time we have had K-Trap on since the World Series of Free Enterprise. So we will be seeing those Sylph Cave boxes. We will be seeing lots of trapped boxes. But it looks like our runners are just about ready to get started.
Yeah. We'll see who our hero is partnered with, and we'll see what key item our runners are starting off with. Once they go. Well, that's a starting item, I guess.
Look, I have never turned down a free cabin in my life.
Oh, don't get me wrong, like, I am very grateful for the cabin, especially in this flag set. I find myself burning through camping gear like nobody's business. But, you know, it's definitely less exciting than finding the early Kane. Having access to that early physical fighter is going to at least mean that we'll be able to get through some of the early spots a lot quicker until we can get Palub a little bit of the experience points he's going to need to really get online.
And we do want to get him those experience points. As you said, we don't have to worry about Luca Cave, except for the fact, well, never mind, we have a Tella. Tella, you don't have to get to 28 or 29 to get to Warp. But we see three of our runners heading to Baron, whereas Skarnerser is heading to Damsian, and trying to get as much money as possible to be able to afford those nice items that are in these shops.
Yeah, in another twist, in addition to having K-Trap on, we have only put those dollar bills, y'all, into the chests. if you want any actual items to equip to your characters to allow them to do things, you're going to have to go shopping for them. We have CS Radical checking out the Mist Cave. It's just a Dark Elf, as John Burkhead is in the Watery Pass, kind of a standard opener. Night Dew going for a spicy check in Castle Eblan. There are 3 trapped chests in here that can be kind of nasty, especially at this low level. Doesn't manage to find one in the left wing of the castle, so that's actually going to be some really nice money.
Yep, I saw a couple of 10,000s, 15,000 in there. And these runners, we see tiaras and black shirts for sale in Mist. Those black shirts being a very nice item for that Palom. But not much else to kind of boost our early game. Well, there's a Massive Mune for an edge we don't have.
Yeah, Mute Arrows for sale, which is also nice, since if we can find a bow for the Palom, he can, pretend to be an archer until he learns level 2 magic in a single level. We find our second Tell of the Seed up on top of Mount Hobbs as Scarcerer is taking on the Dark Imps right away, trying to get that character, trying to get a few levels on the Palom so he can get his level 2 magic.
And throwing out a blink, you definitely don't want to mess with these Dark Elves. No free bosses is on, so these bosses cannot be stopped. They cannot be hourglassed. You are going to have to kill them, and they hit very hard, especially at base level.
Indeed. On Night Dew's side, he is running around the village of Kaipo, checking out the bed. We have found our 4th of 7 unique characters that will be appearing in this seed. It's an Edward.
Well, if we find a spoon would be good.
So is this the bedward I keep hearing about, the Edward in the bed?
This is like a French vanilla bedward that requires a key item rather than giving you one.
Ah, I see. Sadly, we have no free key items. Edward in the other bed down in Toroya won't be giving us anything. And depending on where D-Mist is, there could be a key item locked behind it.
Now, we do see Scarcer unfortunately taking a wipe, trying to get that Tella. Those Dark Imps are very, very punchy. And if you have not found anything other than just whatever these C-necky characters start with, they're going to hit hard, and yeah, might as well go down to Antlion and see if you can get something a little less painful.
Yeah. On the other side of the screen, just diagonally down, we have Night Dew on those Dark Imps. Put an Ogre Axe on the cane, got a Blink Up on it, and managed to, I believe, one-shot the first one. Doesn't manage to one-shot the second one. But Scarcer is finding a Karate Man down in the Antlion Cave.
That is one of those characters that I am glad to see in a very low physical spot, especially with no free bosses on. Both Feymarch boss spots and that Cave Bahamut spot and the Masamune spot can hit very, 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 very hard and have decent amount of health.
Yeah. On the bottom side of the screen, Night Dew is our first runner with a Tella in the party. Scarcer is through, finds the Luca key. Hilarious.
The value. And Night Dew checking the front side of Hobbs. I love this check. I always seem to find good things here, even though it really shouldn't matter. It's I just like it.
Yeah, no. It's one of those checks that, when you have access to exit, doesn't take that long for the number of checks you're getting. Like, those 4 chests are way closer together than anything in, say, Watery Pass. So it never hurts to poke your nose down, especially because with S Wild on, there is, some exceptional gear in these shops. We've already saw the Masamune, we can find crystal swords, Avengers, Stardust rods, all sorts of wonderful trinkets that cost way too much money.
Yeah, speaking of crystal swords, that is a $215,000 crystal sword.
Yeah, we do not have $215,000 at this time. So if we find a Cecil, and we want to buy it, we're going to have to save up a little bit. But one of the things I found in this flag set is, you almost want to loot more than you think you want to. Just because there is so much stuff out there that you're going to want to be spending money on. And since you aren't going to pull a, cheekily strong piece of equipment out of a treasure box, you need the money.
And you definitely want to be able to buy your utility items as well, your life potions, your cabins, your tents. J items are not for sale, so if you want J items, you are going to have to steal them.
Which, means praying that you're going to find an edge, so hopefully, you either work around probably not finding him, because again, we're only going to see 7 out of the 12 unique characters in Final Fantasy IV in this given seed.
And Night 2 finding Artemis arrows, that is huge there in Silvera. Artemis arrows, of course, being the best arrow in the game, it does do extra damage towards dragons. You want to find those early and just know where they are.
On John Burkhead's side, doing a cheeky another dive into Castle Eblan, manages to take out the 3 Mad Ogres with the Ogre Axe that Kain has equipped, finds an Excalibur, which sells for a lot right now. We might find a Cecil or an edge to throw it later, but for now, that is still also a fair bit of experience for that paladin.
And we did see a Golbez there in the Fabul defense. I did not see what we got from that. Was that the Luca key? No, that was from Antlion.
Yeah, Luca key was from Antlion. We're getting a yikes from chat for the Golbez, because apparently we don't know what was there. It was a wiper or reset, unfortunately.
Oh. Yeah, while having 2 characters is really nice for Golbez, not having a ton of utility items, only having 3 Star Veils, and it looks like we did get 2 bonus ones, but still needing to know when to use those Star Veils, when to hold them for something else. Definitely something our runners are having to learn very quickly.
Yeah, and with a party like this, you just need that one thing that lets you jumpstart, and once Palom gets access to those level 2 spells, that's when he really starts snowballing. The other thing you can do is continue to loot, try and find a Stardust Rod somewhere, to let your Palom let the power of the Stardust carry your Palom's damage until you get those spells, in which case, well, you're still getting plus 15 to your caster stat anyway, which Scarcerer manages to pull right here, right now, in Kaipo. That's huge.
And also buying a Poison Axe for that Kain, definitely a nice axe. Is a little expensive, but that Stardust Rod is going to be huge for that Palom.
Yeah, and that Poison Axe is going to be much better than the Assassin Dagger that Kain was trying to rock earlier. On CS Radical's side, finishing the Karate Man right about the same time Night Dew does. Both of them are going to get their Luke key, which, hey, +1 key item.
And I do want to point out something that John Burkhead is doing that is actually a really heads-up play. He is starting every fight in the back row, and once he gets that hourglass off, he is changing rows with his party to do additional damage to those Stalemen because that cane is not back row glitched. And once they're stopped anyway, you don't have to worry about those punches as much.
Yep. Really nice for, just making sure your characters are going to be able to take that initial volley of hits. Clearing out the final Staleman.
And that is Quake.
And that's a Zeus Gauntlet. It looks like Castle Eblan did not have any key items today, but honestly, I pull a Zeus Gauntlet this early. That's like 65,000. I do not have to drop in a shop. I will take that all the way to the bank.
Well, and just having Quake is really, like you said, going to snowball that Palom. We are going to see him just start taking things on. Now, Golbez is not, of course, the thing you want to take on with Quake. It doesn't do you a whole lot of good, but there are other bosses out there, and has enough money to afford some of these nicer items with that full Eblan dive.
Yeah, like, real heads-up play from John Burkhead, recognizing that he, with those 3 hourglasses, had enough party power to be able to go do the Castle Eblan dive effectively, get that power, and now he's going to just really tear through a lot of these overworld checks just really quickly.
And finding a white spear for that cane, I think the rest of our runners are just rocking some axes for this cane. This is very, very big for him, being able to afford it, being able to do that extra damage, and it sort of makes Kane into a white mage, right?
Yeah. Look, we just need to find a Soma drop, and then he'll have MP, and then, Kane will be able to truly be a mage. The ability to cast using the spear, don't worry about it. And, that whole MP stat thing, which apparently is important for mages.
Now, we do see CS Radical going up ordeals, deciding that Golbez was not something that he wanted to mess with right now, whereas Night Dew is getting through that Golbez and is going to show us what our key item is here. And that's an Earth Crystal. That is huge. That is 2 characters, 2 key item checks. The Treasury's great. It's going to be team money out of 10, but team money out of 10 is pretty good.
Yeah, like, especially this early on, you're always really, really happy to go Zot. We only know who 4 of the 7 characters are in the seed. Zot has 2 character checks. So odds are good. We're not just going to get more information, but we're going to be able to add someone new to the party. Since Cino Dupes is on, you can only have one of any given person in your party. We're not going to be rocking, like, the double Palom or anything today. Well, we can't. He's the hero anyway. Double Kane.
Double Tella?
Oh. Multi-old man drifting. Yeah, so I've been told that I'm okay at math. I'm just assuming Night Dew got a metric buttload of money out of the treasury. That's the technical term.
I saw a 70,000. 70,000's a real good start.
Yeah.
And John Burkhead going to go ahead and try and take on this Golbez as well, while CS Radical getting through that Leviathan. Going to see what this second boss is up here after a very necessary save. That Leviathan was very scary, and you never want to not save and lose lots of progress, because none of us have ever done that, right?
Right. Yeah, no, definitely never. Scarcer on the other side of the screen is making their way through Castle Eblan. We know that this is, a lot of money and some really good items. No progression, though. Our magma key is still loose, though. Demist on Ordeals. Hello.
That is surprisingly huge. Demist is going to hold a key item, so this does increase this to 2 key item checks. And Ordeals is a check that a lot of runners like to fade as long as possible. Now, this is going to be long and miserable, but it can, if this has something like the magma key or even the darkness crystal, this could be huge for Radical.
Yeah, like either of those would be huge. Or maybe this is the tower key. Maybe this is, the package or the sand ruby, and he can get on the scoreboard right away. Maybe it's half of Forge, and suddenly he's able to convert that while the other runners are just like trying desperately to find the other half. The potential is huge, would be really the only way I can put it. But yeah, like you said, a lot of runners avoid Ordeals, myself included, just because 3 bosses for 1 key item is not the best ratio.
Definitely not. And while, yes, Tella gets all of his spell suite once you finish Ordeals, you really want to see something like a Cecil that you were trying to get to Paladin, which we have not seen.
Yeah. Yeah, while our runners are kind of scurrying around doing their various fights, just to give everyone at home the week 1 standings for everyone in this. On the upper left, we have Scarcerer from Bring Your Own Bacchus. As a team, they're 0-1. Scarcerer, unfortunately, did drop their first game. CS Radical is from Bimmy and Jimmy Eat World. Their team is 1-0. CS Radical won his first game last week. John Burkhead is from Brewdo Attitude, who are 0-1 right now, though John Burkhead did win his game last week. And Night Dew of Team Bold Strategy is 0-0, had last week off, and his team is currently down a match.
Ooh, and unfortunately, CS Radical taking a wipe to that Demist decides not where he wants to be right now with his party. Looks like is going to hit Eblan and try and get some money and items, which will put 3 of our runners currently in Eblan, while John Burkhead checking the Mist Cave.
Yeah, that back attack spot is shockingly nasty for what it is, because not only do you need to think, oh, I need to flip my party around so that my mages aren't in the front and getting punched, but also the boss basically gets a free turn before you get a chance to do anything. Just because it's like, in the lore, it's Mylon Z popping up and going, aha, I am ambushing you! I have no idea why I pulled that accent.
It's fine. Mylon Z likes to change accents, like Z likes to change butts.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll see if John Burkhead is just going to get all of this money, and there is a lot of it. That's a lightsaber. You tend to learn what some things cost, but we'll see if he wants to be the first of our runners to go up this Earth crystal route.
Yeah, because in addition to the standard key item that we're all thinking about at the top of the tower, there is the Flame Dog chest on your way as you're climbing the tower, which is another potential check. So it's not the worst odds.
Plus, unfortunately, Hallam, Tella, and Kane, not really what you're hoping for in terms of power overwhelming.
Yeah, not yet at least. Like, if we added Avenger on that Kane, then I think we can start talking a little bit about, overall party power. But the old man is a great utility caster, and Hallam's got some really powerful spells if he survives a punch.
And we do see Night Dew giving Ordeals a try, where John is heading up to the Tower of Zot. Let's see what our Flame Doggy has today for us.
Yeah. Step one, of course, is finding the Flame Dog. In Free Enterprise, all of the trapped chests are shuffled among all of the chests in the area, so the Flame Dog can be in any one of these boxes up here in this tower.
And it looks like it is a vanilla Flame Dog chest. Great for the runners, because nobody wants to do the Trident, but I like seeing the runners have to do the Trident.
I mean, on the other hand, it is in fact the finest of the flavors. Oh!
That is very important. Very important.
So that is our first runner to find underground access today. Now, Night Dew's going to find that D-Mist is going to learn of the bonus round up here on Mount Ordeals today. This still could be huge. The D-Mist could still have something. The Ordeals Shrine itself could still have something. But John Burkhead forging on ahead very valiantly. Gonna give us a peek at who the Magus Sisters spot boss is.
And Night Dew doing a 1-2 punch with that, the virus into that Stardust Rod item, quickly taking out D-Mist, whereas we find an Ogopogo. Not great without a White Mage.
Yeah, Tella, can do his best to be a White Mage, though, frankly, at this point, he's much more of a chemist. We do have that white shirt floating around, which some of our runners may or may not have bought. But even then, Cure 2's healing potential is only so much. It is just an Artie bow at the top of Mount Ordeals today.
Ooh, and this is a plague. Thankfully, this Palom very easily going to take it out. If we say had a Tella or some of our other slower characters as our hero, that would have been very, very scary.
Yeah, and since we saw that in the Baron Inn, there was yet another Looter Sparkle, we know where 3 of our moon bosses are today already. Which is good, because it keeps them away from some of the nastier places.
We haven't found Wyvern yet, though.
It is...
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say, though, it is worth noting Witchburn is on. So the opening Mega Nuke isn't necessarily going to happen.
And we see our first character up here on Zod is a Yang. Yang, not the dream at all.
Yeah. I mean, he can hold a Thunder Claw, I guess. Interesting to see the French vanilla dancing dolls, though. They're going to be at the Golbez spot, behind where they usually are.
Oh, and just a dupe Kane. Not finding the kind of power you would like to have found at the top of this long check. We'll see who the boss and what the key item is, but let's see what we get from Mama Rydia. That is a Baron key.
Yep. So that is a really good pickup. Not what you want to see, but if it's gating something, it might be interesting. Hey, you remember when I was talking about holding a Thunderclaw? That's an Odin here at the top of the tower.
Yeah, that Odin took one look at that Yang and said, no thanks.
I do not want your fist of lightning today. I also appreciate Night Dew deciding not to run out the Baron key since, again, you know you've already fought and defeated D-Mist. You know that you aren't going to find another cheeky key item check, beyond what you already know is in any given location. So now you're just going for density. Zot has 2 key items. Baron has 1.
Plus, I love a good routing of Zot into Baron. It flows, and I love the flow.
Ah, yes. That is actually a really good point.
But John Burkhead does get through that Odin. Did get a little scary there at the end, but Palom pulling a virus out. And Night Dew getting the magma key, but says, yes, I'm going to continue this as well.
John Burkhead walking away with Odin's spear held high. You love to see that narrative.
And has decided wants to check this Baron End spot before heading underground. That's a Wyvern.
That's a fire one. I think.
Look, nerd.
I think Wyvern needs to check the wiring on that microwave. That's not exactly heating up my taquitos today.
But that Rubicant might. That Rubicant is going to hit real hard.
Oh, yeah. We'll see about getting that Ice 2 off. This could be interesting. And it's down.
Rubicant didn't get to do anything either. Just steamrolling through those bosses and finding the hook. Now, Radical is also in this fight and is going to find his hook. Mm-hmm. Has not done the Golbez at Fabul Defense, so doesn't have that Earth Crystal to get that Magma Key.
Yeah. So there's actually an interesting argument to be made about, whether or not you check the hook route at all. It's not an objective. It takes time to go in there and see not only who the character is, but also the 2 boxes are so far apart from each other. And if I'm going into Cave Eblan, I want to make sure that I'm getting both the Staleman chest, but also the Quad Mad Ogre chest.
We do see John Burkhead buying 3 of one of my favorite items in the game. Those are crystal rings. They add so many resistances, plus they increase your speed. And John is going ahead and raising the hovercraft. I have a feeling we are going to see a dive into Eblan. Might be looking for a character.
Yeah, no, it's an interesting question because on the one hand, there are these key items. There's some shops. There's a character check. On the other hand, you have the Magma Key. You could just choose to gamble off the hook for now and go directly underground where there's way more shops and way more checks, though characters are slightly harder to come by down there.
Now, I want to jump up to Scarcerer. That was a very heads-up but also terrifying play. With that plague being at 00 to end the fight and using the Stardust Rod as an item, knows that will immediately fire and will get off faster than some of these other spells.
Love to see it. And, the other benefit of being up here in our deals, besides, having the key items, besides getting the Paladin online, is your Tella now has access to the full suite of spells. Including some, kind of overlooked ones if you aren't really used to the K-Trap meta. Float, in particular, is really, really useful to get through those nasty damage tiles in both the Fey March and Sylph Cave.
Especially if you are not sure where your agility falls. Agility, of course, determining where, how quickly spells come out, if you'll go before or after enemies. There are different calculations based on who your anchor is, which with Sea Hero is going to always be your hero. If you can ensure that if you don't get that Quake off first to take out those trap chests, being able to float and not have to worry about being one shot is fantastic.
Yep. Looking on some of the other runners, we've got Scarcer just talking to Rydia's mom, getting his Baron Key, CS Radical taking out D-Mist as Night Dew enters the Rubicante fight.
CS Radical getting his revenge on that D-Mist, saying, I got levels now, I don't... No, you get off this mountain. This is my mountain now.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I hate these Stalemen. I will die on the hill of this is one of the scariest trap chests in the game.
Yeah, like, they seem fine. They're, you know, like, they hit kind of hard, but that's okay. That's a pigtail, which is interesting. Doesn't really do anything other than give you a chance at some high-level gear. But yeah, no, the Stalemen's sleep touch on their melee attacks has cost me more time in Free Enterprise than I really want to admit to.
And we just find an Edward and another Sparkle guarding the underground. I would suspect we are going to pick up this Edward, and John Burkhead is probably going to grab this last trap chest. You definitely don't want to leave behind something like a Darkness Crystal, especially if you've already walked all the way down. Whereas Scarcer are going to give that Baron Key a test.
Yeah. So for the folks playing at home, that Sparkle is either going to be D-Lunars or Pale Dim. Either way, I don't think that the fight is really a fun one. But, you know, I think the Pale Dim is much more manageable than the D-Lunars at the Rubicante spot.
Well, and John actually remembering weaknesses and that he's got both Artemis arrows and mute arrows, putting those mute arrows on for this trap chest. I don't know that we'll see him take on whatever is down here other than the trap chest, but definitely very heads up.
Yeah, I do recall him, you know, specifically picking those mute arrows up earlier, probably as a bit of a heads-up play for a situation exactly like this.
Now, unfortunately, base level Edward still not going to do the most damage to start off, but if we can maybe get some stops off, or Kane can just murder. Just murder. Murder's great. We love it.
Porque no los dos.
But Night Dew taking out this turtle here in the wrong spot has been demoted to Baigan. And gonna see who is the king of bear. Oh.
Oh.
Is it 17 monsters in a trench coat?
No, not today. Sadly, we're still in a monarchy and not a democratic parliament.
And we see Anna coming out telling us to fight. This is still not a free fight, so you do have to do the whole amount of damage that is here.
Yeah, and Water Hag can still punch kind of hard.
And not getting a key item from those Mad Ogres. We'll see. Is going to walk whatever it was out. I did not see what it was.
Yeah, I was looking away at the time as well, just because. Oh boy, Water Hag.
It was a power shirt. Okay, there are a couple of things I would walk out, and that's probably one of them.
Yeah, that and an Avenger are probably it for me on the not a K item list.
And our 6th character today is a Rydia.
Knight Dew gonna pick that up as his 5th character, going to add the tiny child to the party. We have seen some summon orbs floating around, and if Knight Dew's been taking good notes, or Scarcer's been taking good notes, both of them could turn around some really interesting Black Mage strats between the Palom and the Rydia.
Definitely. I know we've seen a Leviathan and a Bahamut orb for sale. Lol.
Yeah.
Sorry, that was funny to me.
Yeah, Knight Dew, not today. Do not pass go. And of course, John Burkhead finding the crystal sword from Pigtail Turnin.
But John Burkhead will be the first of our runners underground at 38 minutes.
Which is, kind of interesting for how accessible overall the Magma Key is. Flame Dog's kind of a bit of an out-of-the-way check, but, it's still technically Sphere 0.
Well, I do know both of our top runners, Radical and Scarcer, both are fading that Fabul check very hard. And unfortunately, not great, although that's a spoon in Baron.
Mm-hmm.
Spoons are good for Edwards that are in the seed.
Yeah. Now we just need to find, make sure that everyone who has a spoon has an Edward, and is it actually just... Okay, John Burkhead has the Eddie. Knight Dew is the only one without.
Yes.
Well,
wait.
No, Scarcer doesn't as well. Apologies.
Correct. Scarcer has not done the Baron in check yet.
Mm-hmm.
But Knight Dew buying a Bahamut orb, going to bring that tiny murder child online. Rydia is here to summon dragons. Angry, angry dragons.
Yeah, she'll need a few more MP first, but in a fight or two, those dragons will be here. They will be angry, and will they be my friend? Can I be friends with the dragons?
Guess it depends. How do you like your barbecue toasted?
Depends on the cut of the meat.
Because we only know how to microwave.
Well, I do enjoy some lefties. Yeah, we have John Burkhead healing up before opening up this box down here in the Fey March. Finds the 5 warriors right away. Goes for a quick quake. They're all going to get a chance to attack, but if they do not punch down the Palom, they're dead.
And Knight Dew very quickly taking out one of those Stalemen. Hopefully can get some XP on this Rydia to get her online.
He only gets punched for 9 damage. That Rydia is learning to post.
And just another edge sword there in the warrior's chest. But knowing that there are 2 objectives and a key item down here, I'm curious to see what our Fame Arch bosses are going to be, because John Burkhead very strong at this point.
Mm-hmm. That's a legend sword. So that puts all... Gosh, we are very close to go mode. We need either 4 different key items or 3 if one of them is exactly darkness.
And we see Radical heading into Baron Castle, going to be the first of our runners. Nope. We'll see what Night Dude does with this Edward, having that spoon.
Mm-hmm. John is going down and down, finding ladies.
Finding 4 beautiful ladies there in the Fame Arch. No, can we not?
Yeah, I assume... I haven't looked at the Vivalis tables in a long while. I'm just going to go out on a limb and assume that she is just completely immune to all sources of magic damage in tornado form there.
And we have Spoonword online on Night Dew's side.
Excellent. May his spoony reign be long and prosperous for all.
But John Burkhead saying, no, I'd really rather not. Let's try something a little less terrifying here at Dwarf Castle.
Yeah, as Scarcerer is cleaning out Castle Eblan, Night Dew is on his way to the 4 Mad Ogre chest, and CS Radical is about to see who's on the throne today.
I love the moment of Blue Robe panic, especially in that spot.
Mm-hmm.
It's so unnecessarily long.
Right? And especially for a check that, like, isn't really required. You know, it's not an objective. Yeah, it's a key item check, but, like, it makes the math on the gamble that much more problematic.
And it looks like we are going to see a Dragon God thrown at these Mad Ogres. Looks like we're trying to get some Eddie some of that XP.
Mm-hmm.
Mad Ogres usually not weak to magic spells, but Bahamut don't care. Bahamut hit very, very hard.
Yeah. Your resistance to magic does not make you resistant to Blarg. John Burkhead finding the Baron Guards dancing behind the Dwarf Castle. Scarcerer getting Fire Wand from Wyvern. You know, the most terrifying spell of all.
Blarg.
As CS Radical is finding the tiniest of tiny murder childs after finishing up in Baron. Both of our top runners still have yet to find the Magma Key, have yet to go into the Tower of Zot yet. By virtue of not pulling the Earth Crystal. Now, you don't need to have the Earth Crystal to get into Zot. You can still go and find the Flame Jog chest without it. That said, you know, if you're gotta go into Zot, you kind of want to do them both in the same go, just because, you know, it takes time to go in, it takes time to come out, it takes time to come back in. So I don't blame them for putting it off, but
it is very hard, especially if you know you have another check on the table that you faded, to check, to make this check. And it looks like CS Radical is heading towards Zot, might be making the play.
Mm-hmm.
And John Burkhead throwing his dolls in a hole and going home.
I don't want to play with you anymore. I'm gonna have to bug.
Radical, not knowing that this is absolutely the play, and that there is nothing else of value in this Zot. Sorry, but Young is not value. We already have a Cane. Dwarf, please, why?
John Burkhead finds a rat tail here, goes to hit the warp cast. We'll see what's locked away behind the Luca key, technically. Oh!
That's interesting.
Once again, the finest of the flavors. That is a vanilla darkness crystal. But we are still 2 key items away from go mode for John Burkhead.
And Night Dew also very soon going to be getting that Darkness Crystal and that Rat Tail. And looks like wanting to kind of gear up this Yang a little bit.
Mm-hmm. I mean, if you've got him and you've started to put some levels on him, I don't hate it.
And looks like we're going to see the trap chests here on our way up the tower.
As CS Radical has thrown the key down the hole, Starcer is opening up boxes, finding the Staleman chest. We'll see what happens next on their side, as, again, Starcer is still the only runner here who has not found the Magma Key in the Tower of Zot yet. It'll be interesting to see. We might have one of our runners finishing off the hook route, which could actually prove advantageous if there is some particularly nasty fights that extra experience allows them to get through.
And we see Tella landing an off-slot stone to kill those Stalemen. I believe we've seen Sorcerer Robes, so might have one of those. And speaking of Sorcerer Robes, we see CS Radical buying lots of them. Please give me all of your Sorcerer Robes.
In the meantime, wife, I love you. Please speed up the hand crawling animation. Oh my god.
Yeah, just from a story-wise perspective, somebody's got to go, why can't... Half of us are wearing armored boots. Why can't we just, like, punt this thing?
Like, I mean, I'm still fine with if it wants to crawl, you know, like, I wouldn't want to jump on a creepy crawling hand like that, even if I'd been fighting monsters. That just seems weird. But, like, instead of, like, weaving its way back and forth, can't it just go straight for the thing it wants anyway?
Or it be like the hand from the Addams Family that's got places to be. It can move.
I would agree. That hand here is fairly creepy and kooky. Looks like the lower Babel trap chests are not really paying off.
Definitely not, and we still do not have that tower key. Now, we do have top tower. A vanilla tower key is huge here.
Yeah, like, on average, I do feel like Keyless Tower is a slightly stronger play than it is in a lot of other flag sets, specifically just because of the 4 different trap chests that our runners have access to.
Now, I don't remember, did we see the rat tail turn in from... Well, there's the pink tail, there's our crystal sword, from John Burkhead, because this could also be the tower key.
Yeah, John has not come up back above ground. I mean, it's a key item. It could still be the tower key for all we know.
And that is 10 for Night Dew. Night Dew has 10 key items and is going to gain double experience.
Yeah, that is huge, especially now that we're in a state where, okay, we have the darkness, we have access to the Fey March bosses. We know that, given that there's still 4 key items floating around that we need to do our objectives, starting to snowball into the power to take on the boss spots for when you find the 2 key items you're going to find to put you in go mode is definitely on the back of everyone's mind here right now. As we find the less fun kind of orb, the one that shoots lasers at your face and not blargs your enemies with dragonfire.
Yeah, this is not the party you want for the CPU.
Yeah.
I'm all for Plan Q, where you just you hit it really, really hard, really, really fast, and hopefully kill everything at once. But when you only have one source of AoE, that is less of a good idea.
Yeah, and like you do have the spoon where doing sufficient damage that, you know, this is going to get through eventually. Plus the attacker only does percentage damage, so it's not too hard to heal off. But it's still not fun. It's still not fast.
And speaking of healing, we do not have a white mage.
Tell us here. Tell us in the time break.
Tell us dead.
Oh. Oh.
Now,
Well,
I am curious to see how much Globe 199 does at this spot. I am curious.
You know, it is the Luge spot, and I have no idea how high that spot's. It does enough. The answer is it does.
It does enough.
But we only see one of them before we explode that orb.
That's a pan.
Yeah.
That is another key item, and I don't think anybody has checked Sheila 1 at this point.
Nope. You know, for the most part, I think even with all the other runners trying to fade Fabul as hard as possible, I think most runners are going to fade Sheila 1 as hard as possible, at least until you know that odds are looking good that it's probably a vanilla pan.
But while Night Dew is climbing, John Burkhead says, "Goodbye, Sky Tower. I am off to go play Whack-a-Yong."
Mm-hmm.
But we do see Scarcer looks like going to head up to the tower. One thing that we didn't talk about because it never occurred to my brain, Scarcer knows that this has to be the way underground because Golbez couldn't be blocking it. but nobody said anything about that trap chest there.
True. Yeah, and with Gomez at the Fabul spot, yeah. I didn't even think about that earlier.
Yeah, that completely dropped from my mind.
Well, the Sylph just has a ring made of crystal, as Night Dew is taking on the orbs. CS Radical is taking on the Baron Guards, and Scarcer is like, now finally, I can get underground.
And John Burkhead heading back to Fabul. I am very curious what these key items are going to be. Because if this is, say, tower key, there's a few of them that could be very draw you away from that moon.
I mean, even tower key alone could be spicy. Arty arrows. And tower, oh my god, I'm a witch!
That is so rude. I love it.
Pan at the top of the tower gives you the tower key. Is there, if you're John Burkhead right now, is there anything that stops you from getting on the scoreboard?
Rat tail?
You know what? Fair. You got me there.
Because that is another key item. Not a great key item. That is not a key item you want to see at this point.
This is not the key item you're looking for. But it is number 10. Or 11, I guess.
Yeah,
I can count.
I can only count downward from 10, and I didn't start at 10, so now I'm confused.
That is fair. I just say I've got a degree in math, so anything that involves actual numbers, not letters, it's just completely lost on me.
And we are a fish hatchery specialist. What kind of fish? What kind of fish?
Probably tropical. Could be any number of kinds.
I'm fish. But John Burkhead saying, okay, I'm going to raise that lunar whale, but I am going to do this tower key because I would like to be on the board. It is 6 of 8 objectives. So if you find very certain things, actually, now I have to think. I don't like thinking.
You know, same. But yeah, the tower key is going to get you on the scoreboard. Having underground access gives you access to 2 objectives right away. Darkness Crystal is 2 objectives. So really we need a package, a sand ruby, or an adamant rock here at the super cannon room, and John Burkhead is in go mode, though. Again, we've seen what those Feymarch fights are. John might be a little trepidatious going into those.
Do you, because you know that it has to be in Sylph Cave, do you go Sylph over Feymarch?
So I guess my thought is, if I'm not feeling comfortable taking on those Feymarch bosses, I know I still need to either get experience, find another key item so I can dodge one of them, or both. You want to know what's a great way to check for key items while getting experience? That's right, it's the Fey March. Yes, that one. Because K-Summon is off, you can't double dip by doing the Fey March fights.
Oh, Fiery Blizzard pointing out it could be Hairdryer's last arm, or the harp.
Yeah.
It could be all three, and there's not a thing in that in Sylph.
True. But Sylph boxes are worth a absolute pile of experience points. So plus there's 7 different key item checks you can make in there. So if this isn't a key item or one that puts you in go mode, if this is, say, like the regular crystal, I go Sylph 100% of the time. God damn!
Leggy, don't do this to the runners, please.
I'm gonna hang out with Zoe and Debbie too much. No, who am I kidding? It's never too much. I love them both dearly.
But Nightdew also taking on that tower, going to get his crystal, and kind of in the same boat.
Yeah. Both of them are on the leaderboard, which is great. You love to at least know that you've got one in your back pocket that, you know, at the end of the day, it's going to happen. CS Radical is on the trail as well, heading up tower, opening up a lot of boxes that unfortunately we know contain nothing, but in his shoes, there's 5 checks here. It could be any one of them.
And Scarcer getting his Darkness Crystal. I'm very glad that none of our runners forgot the Warp Glitch. There is nothing that feels worse than seeing them forget the Warp Glitch and having the Luca Key, because that is a long check.
Yup, and the boss at the end of it is not fun.
Now, I do know that there are different weightings to where key items can be. Is that correct?
So, my understanding is that when we do key item generation, also, shoutouts to that Kane just one-shotting that Magus Sister.
Shoutouts to that Magus Sister just one-shotting that Kane.
Hey, game respects game. But yeah, so the way that key item generation works is that you start with your K standard pool of key items. Those are all your standard plot stuff. If you have K summon, K moon, or K trap on, then you add, by default, only half of them to the pool of spots that can contain key items, and with a very descending probability, you add in additional ones of them. It's about it's like 50% of the time you add nothing, 25% of the time you add one, a quarter of the time you add another, etc., 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 all the way down until you have added all of them into the pool. And then once you've done that, you distribute key items. You make sure that your key item distribution is actually valid and logical and won't have, Earth Crystal at the top of the Tower of Zot. And once you have a seed that does that, you hand it off to people and be like, look what I made you. Isn't it wonderful?
I made this.
No, I made this, Smile. So at the end of the day, on average, trap chests are about half as likely to have a key item by default, though those odds get skewed very rapidly the moment you know anything about where any of the key items in the seed are. Probability is weird and wild, and not exactly my personal specialty in terms of branches of mathematics.
But it was still a wonderful explanation, and we have taken out the Magus sisters.
Mm-hmm. As Scarcerer is coming down, talking to himself, setting up the Sheila 1 check. Does not have the pan. And unfortunately, we here in the booth know that Sheila 1 is not the check with the goods. Sheila 2 has the goods.
And Nightdew, once again, getting trolled by NPCs.
I mean, that's just free enterprise.
Look, I think some of the NPCs in the Feymarch are some of the rudest.
Oh, definitely. Like, the worst part about the Feymarch to me is, like, you look at those hallways and you're like, yeah, no, that's like 2 or 3 tiles wide. No, it's just 1. It's just that the railings take up half the tile. You can't walk on them anyway.
And if you try to shove the chocobo, it goes slower.
Right. So the Valvalis fight here is going to be interesting because you have this very powerful mage sitting down at the bottom of your party. On the other hand, do you really want to knock Valvalis out of her spinning pattern?
Well, and on the other side, we have a different sort of sisters fight where we are relying on AoE. Rydia doing 7k.
Love to see it. Yeah. CS Radical coming down from the top tower, just picking up his pan, which we know will lead to the tower key. Scarcerer turns in Sheila 1, unfortunately gets punished, going to do the Fabul check for that Earth Crystal, now that the Golbez fight should basically be free.
And Nightdew threw the Magus sisters in a much faster time than John Burkhead, just by virtue of having that AoE. And we'll see if he wants to save or if he just goes straight into Valvalis.
Yeah. I definitely approve the safer play, especially because being able to stock up on NP, that Blarg is powerful, but Blarg is expensive.
And in all of this, I don't think either one of us pulled up the chart of, can Blarg hit Valvalis in this spot?
Yep. I like mysteries.
Let's find out. For those who maybe are wondering, what chart are you talking about? We in Free Enterprise have so many different resources for runners. We have charts, we have D-Machine charts, we have can you hit Valvalis in the spot charts. We have all sorts of different things on the Discord. If you are interested in maybe learning to play this game, please join the Discord. It is a wonderful place. We love to help new players, and we share knowledge freely.
Yeah, that with the way that this game handles boss randomization, where bosses gain stats based off of their location and the vanilla stats of the boss that was at that location, there's some really weird edge cases that, you know, if you don't know about it because, you know, you're new to the game or you just haven't found out for any reason, can be quite tricky to deal with, such as Volvalus's tornado form being super dodgy both physically and magically. Looks like we're not going to find out whether or not... looks like Night Doom is not going to show us whether or not a Blarg can hit a Volvalus, though Xenocat in chat mentions that no, this is a microwave immune tornado today.
And John Burkhead, letting himself be led by Polaris, is heading up to the moon and going to take on those moon bosses.
Probably also going to give a cheeky check of the hairdryer's chest while he's up here. At least that's what I do, given that, we're still looking for that last key item.
But we see Scarcer going ahead and checking Cave Magnus, whereas CS Radical taking on this Golbez.
I do appreciate this music play. Depending on what we find here, Scarcer could really get paid by this check. Because, again, these runners, this is not a four-way free-for-all. The top two runners are dueling against each other. The bottom two runners are dueling against each other. If John Burkhead or Night Dew finish before Scarcer or CS Radical, that has no impact on the other two.
And we do have exclamation point Doot here. This is where those Artemis arrows would really come in handy. But we in the booth are going to let DJ Spoony B give us some tunes, and we'll be back with you shortly. And now that we've heard Edward's mixtape, that was Indignant Divinity from Tower of Heaven.
What an absolute gem. And what an absolute payoff for Scarcerer.
That is a Sand Ruby. That is a required key item for Go Mode if you want to miss out on one of these nastier checks. Whereas John Burkhead has taken out this objective and has taken on Cave Bahamut.
It is worth noting, though, that Scarcer has not gone to the top of tower, and therefore has not done the loop-de-loo to get that tower key. So I think that puts all of our runners exactly one key item away from Go Mode.
And we see Radical heading back up to, no, finishing up the tower check. And Scarcer getting that second Edward.
Yep. Gonna get on the leaderboard there is John Burkhead is going to give us a look at the hair dryers. Those sure are hair dryers. Let's see what's in the box.
Well, hopefully instructions and a cord.
I mean, I'm just hoping it's a weird, you know, Amazon box that I'm supposed to deliver to someone in the Mist Village.
That has just no, it's just a very angry dragon god.
Can I offer you an orb in this trying time?
And John going to take the gamble, heading to the giant.
I don't hate it. If you're not willing to make the dive all the way down to the Masamune altar, you're in, I am going to check everywhere I can for key items. This is something that, you know, brings you back down to the blue planet. It's not too long of a check in the grand scheme of things. And then after this, I guess it's just, come on, show us the sylphs.
And chat pointing out, John never did ordeals. He doesn't know that that demist has been found.
Yeah. Well, good news is the last arm was, you know, right there. So this is going to be a very speedy check.
What does Magnet do?
I have no idea. I can count on one finger how many times I fought this fight.
I know what fission does.
Yeah, about 400 damage. Oh! Last arm required package.
And while we ponder that, we're going to get you bonus music.
So while we were jamming, we found our last character for the seed. We did find the white mage we were promised. Question mark. It was the other twin. She was hiding behind the package at the giant. Oh boy.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to take her.
Yeah.
I think we're going to carry her around while we finish everything else.
Ah. So it's just like Dragon Warrior then. Got it. But yeah, Night Dew is deep, deep, deep into the core of the moon, going to give us a look at who's here at the Masamune altar.
hope it's the Alt Gauntlet. I haven't wished for
It
that
can't
in
be
a
a
while.
Sin Turtle. It can't be Rubicante. It can't be Wife. Have we seen Baigan yet?
Yes.
Oh, well, this is easy enough.
Go, Balnab.
Grrr!
And Balnab doing a little bit of damage to Dr. Luge.
You're missing your lines. Grrr!
Grr, them over there. Beat them up.
There we go. There we go. We got a few more. We got another one of these coming up soon. We can work on our delivery for the next one.
I could do it in a Disney princess voice.
Oh, that would be incredible. You should do that.
But as Chad is pointing out, this will be the last objective required for John Burkhead, whereas Nightdew does still need one more. CS Radical is also in go mode at this point. Not thrilled, but is in go mode.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, with that Tower Key and that Sand Ruby, CS Radical, all CS Radical has to do is, well, turn in the Sand Ruby if he hasn't already, and then go do some murder.
Yep, CS Radical has turned in that Sand Ruby. And we see Scarcer getting that Yang.
Gold apple from the good doctor.
Nightdew, please. Nightdew, why? Why you do this to me? Nightdew, why?
I thought the apple was supposed to keep the doctor away, not get the apple from the doctor. Could someone who's good at aphorisms explain how this works?
But we do see John Burkhead heading into the Dr. Luge fight. Let's do this. Second time. Go, Balnab. Oh. Oh, my dear. I will operate him directly. And looks like Nightdew is actually heading to go turn in that harp.
Yeah, which we know is a jam and will pay off with that last piece of go mode.
Scarcer getting through that Tower of Zot, but that is the last hit on Balnab Z, and we'll head into the second part of the fight, which will finish up John Burkhead's stuff.
Yeah, and given the length that the music check is, and also then needing to fly over with the Sand Ruby, unless something unfortunate happens here, I think John has this one in the bag. Sand Ruby up on the Yang, comes crashing down.
And we see a reflected laser. I love the reflected laser. But this lit 3 should be enough, and that is it for John.
So John has officially finished with a time right around 1:26.5. We'll get the official time in a moment.
Gotta get the apple first.
Oh, yeah.
But there is a congratulations. 6 objectives completed. John Burkhead is our winner with a official race bot time of 1 hour, 26 minutes, and 40 seconds. And we are joined by our winner tonight, John Burkhead. GG's to you.
GG's.
Tell us what you thought about that scene.
Oh man, I'm like shaking over here. Just that was heavy. You didn't have, at least I didn't, your heavy hitters of, no Cecil, no Edge, no real white mage to be spoken of, except for Form at the end there, which obviously I was going to go ahead and take. My heart sunk through my chest when I saw Rydia on the LST because Bahamut was very available. I was like, oof, because that could be a lot of time. But basically, it became a decision with the crystal rings available so early and with Earth Crystal being there so early. It just became a decision of choosing agility anchoring versus the Zeus gauntlets with the power. And I had done a couple practice seeds the past couple nights, and Cubs had been incredibly generous and really kind of helped me through some things because he just mopped the floor with me by about 17 minutes. And he kind of made me reevaluate some things. And without that added perspective of just being a little more thorough, I don't think I would have come through. Night Dew is so good. Not just at this, but at Crystallis and everything else that he does. He's just a monster. So I'm just very grateful for people that have helped me practice and that the routing worked out.
Yeah, so let's talk about routing a little bit with this starting characters and a cabin to your name at the start of the seed. What was going through your head? Like, how do you approach an opener like this?
I mean, well, the cabin made me laugh. Elvin Sara is one of my closest friends here, and if anyone's watched his streams, he has a literal knitted hat that is a cabin, and it's one of his emotes that made me laugh. I like to pop into Baron right away, see who's available. I also like to go ahead and pop into Mount Hobbs before I go shopping, because you can go ahead and equip that third character in battle. So it was kind of the same thing. Baron was very dry on money, but Watery Pass was not. It was enough to go ahead and kind of get started. And then when I saw the crystal rings, it was like, all right, so I can go ahead and speed up both Palom with the Assassin Dagger, and the crystal ring, and with Kane, and I can go ahead. I have enough to go ahead and get through. The Ogre Axe was in the same shot as the Gungnir Spear, and Gungnir might have done a little more damage on the dimps, but I wanted the Ogre Axe for Eblan. So when I saw that, I was like, all right, so what we'll do is we'll go ahead and we'll get Tella, and then we'll immediately go to Eblan. I love doing an early dip at Eblan because it's key items and it's a lot of money. And between getting Swoon procs, hopefully being fast enough with the Hourglasses and the Crystal Ring, plus the Ogre Axe doing some extra work, assuming that you remember to equip it, it kind of bankrolled me. And then there was a Stardust Rod right there. It's like, okay, we can do our overroll checks. And then I just kind of followed the chains as they came along.
Well, and you definitely avoided a big rabbit hole with not going up Mount Ordeals. You would have found the Demist, which would have led to the Baron Key.
Oh, gross.
And that is actually probably where you picked up that time over Night Dew, was just fading that. Was that ever in the back of your head? Oh my gosh, this is going to be my last key item. I should have done this earlier.
I mean, it wasn't. I mean, the only way I'm going to beat someone like Night Dew is exactly what you just described, where if he gets stuck behind a perfectly logical chain and I don't. It was literally the only way I was going to go ahead and get past him, because his execution is just cleaner than mine. Tell starts with Blink and he starts with Exit. You don't really need all that much more. I was very tempted to kind of kill two birds with one stone. It's like, and Demus was on my mind too, because I'd done a bunch of checks, and the only thing that really kind of got me there was it was like, you know what? It was Berserk. It was my lack of Berserk, because I couldn't steal any Bacchus wine. I didn't have a white mage, and while Blink and Exit are great, I wanted Berserk, but I kept thinking, well, I'll probably go ahead and find an Avenger, which I don't know if it was in the shop. I certainly never found it. And I'd watch a Pancras stream a bunch, and he had a great thread in either Possum's Discord or in the general, talking about what you need versus what's nice. And as I'm kind of going through things, it's like Berserk would be nice, but I don't need it. I don't need it. It would be nice, but I don't need it, because I have plenty of protection with the crystal rings, and I have time, and Palom's not that fast. Kane is fast, Eddie's fast, Yang is fast. There's enough time to go ahead and recover if I drop down my battle speed. So it was just a decision not to go. And once you do a fade, we all know how it is. Once you do a fade, like you're done. So
Definitely. So for tonight, before we let you go, do you have any last minute thoughts? Anything you want to share about the seed, about the flag set? Just anything?
Just gratitude. I love this community. I got to chat with Naidu a little bit as we were scheduling. He could not be a more upstanding and nicer person, and I cannot laud him enough for what a runner he is. I'm very grateful for the admin team. These flags are not my cup of tea, but the fact that you all came up with something different, and you found a way to go ahead and incorporate newer runners, which was me a year and a half ago, with some of the more veteran players, and find a way for all of us to be relevant. Because when I was doing Red Moon, or when I did Blue Moon, I got decently far, but if I'd done Red Moon, I'd probably been out in the first couple weeks. The fact that there was a tournament flag set that existed for newer players I really appreciated. So I'm just very, very grateful for the flag set and for all the people in this community. I'm like shaking over here. I don't know who did what, but thank you all very, very much. I have a very patient 9-year-old who needs to go to bed.
Well, we'll let you head to bed. Thanks so much. And again, GG's.
Thank you to you, Night2, and everybody else. You all have a wonderful night.
And meanwhile, Nightdew did finish with a time of 1:29:32, and I do believe we are joined by Nightdew. GG's to you.
Thank you very much.
So, this flag set is so unlike anything that we've really had on offer in a while. And as this was your first race, what were your thoughts going into this? What was your general approach feeling like?
I mean, I was at the beginning. It's like, okay, I have Kane, I have I have Tella, I have Eddie. No, sorry, a Palom. Sorry, Tella came later. But I saw the Eddie, so it's like, there's a spoon word out there eventually, possibly. But it's like, okay, first just get your Stardust Rod and start trying to clear through. And even that Orax I picked up was pretty nice there. But honestly, it was just aside from Sylph, just try to get as many massive checks as I could do. And I admit, going up to Moon, kind of banking on hair dryers and missing there, definitely missed just a little bit there. But then, especially after going and watching the run back, I'm thinking, okay, we have 3 absolutely free key item objectives, and they are exactly in back of Sylph, like far back of Sylph, last arm, and the harp. And shame on me, because I continue to, fade the harp at every opportunity, and once again it bites me.
I mean, you could have gone into Sylph Cave.
I had definitely thought about it with an active Palom and Iridia, but at that point I'm like, well, I'm not sure if it would even help me at this point, to be completely frank. I'm just like, it's really kind of, you're definitely sweating when it's coming up on an hour. You have basically no objectives done, and all of your just normal key items are just hiding. I remember just looking at my key items, especially like after the crystal dropped. I'm like, okay, I'm missing everything I need. And that's it. I had everything else.
Yeah, and then of course that Fey March. First time down there, not who you wanted to see in the King Queen spot, I'm sure.
It's not exactly who I wanted to see, but I went there late. I was just, at that point, I was just like, as soon as I had the key items there, I was ready to go. But I kind of listened a little bit in on John's there, and yeah, those crystal rings were worth their weight in all the gold. I mean, especially after that Earth crystal dropped, it's like, oh hey, look, we have all the money now. So crystal rings are one of the absolute best pieces of armor in the game, and hey, we'll take 4. And it was just kind of a rotating, like, okay, I have Yong. I really didn't feel like Yong. Rydia pretty much came with Bahamut preloaded, so it's like, well, we didn't hurt for offense, and we were kind of clearing was not a problem there. It was it was just a matter of just getting there, and John did it a little bit faster.
Well, and since it is getting a little late, we definitely don't want to hold you up too much longer. Do you have any last minute thoughts on the seed, on the flag set, anything?
No, that's about it, actually. I mean, it was a good seed to run. Of course, anytime you finish in second, you were obviously thinking of some things, but it'll definitely be an interesting watch back, and yeah, we'll just get back to it next week.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for letting us restream you. We really appreciate it. And thanks for putting on a great show.
Thank you very much.
Have a good night. And that was Night Dew, our second place finisher for the bottom half of team names.
Yeah, so that was John Burkhead picking up the first win for Brewdew Attitude for the week, going to a 2-0 personal record. Night Dew similarly being the first runner from Bold Strategy running this week, walking away with a 0-1 record on his personal side.
And we do still have Scarcer and CS Radical still fighting through this seed. Radical is up here on the moon taking out this Dr. Lugay, where Scarcer is showing us these self-trap chests.
Yeah, I don't hate this. As we saw from our two finishers, key item spoil, we do know that in one of these chests lurks the Adamant Rock. I forget which one offhand, I just know it's in here somewhere. So that will be really nice for Scarcer, be able to get that one on the board. That will put them in go mode. Whereas it looks like CS Radical is well on his way to find the package to be placed into go mode, provided he checks the last arm on his way back down from the moon.
And did get the apple there. And yeah, heading down. And Scarcer making use of Tella with that float. Like we said earlier, definitely one of those spells that you feel better about having, especially when you don't have a setup for your Quake for it to be a cursed ring anchor.
Mm-hmm. Chat has corrected me. CS Radical is actually in go mode. I miscounted his objectives. He has already destroyed the super cannons, so I think it's just Fey March bosses left.
Yep. Just got to take out the Magus Sisters and that Valvalis. I would think with the extra levels from the moon bosses that Radical has taken on, that shouldn't be any problem. Whereas Scarcer continues to get all of the money.
Yeah, like, the money's great. Unfortunately, we're deep enough into the seed where you kind of already got everything you need. Outside of, well, Go mode access.
And Radical heading straight down to the Fey March. And Scarcer looking to find those last handful of chests.
Yeah. The Sylph Cave can be a bit twisty and turny, especially if you've already come down here with the pan. But at the end of the day, there's two main paths through the cave, starting from that first entrance room. You have the one down here that Scarcer is on right now, which is the secondary one, and then you have the other one that he was exploring earlier, which leads to the sylphs themselves.
I personally know that if I let my mind not think, we're only ever going to see the sylphs.
Oh yeah, I have to stop and be like, okay, it's time to go. We need to do this instead of that, and bada bing, bada boom. Especially because 9 times out of 10 in previous events, you are not talking to any of the boxes because you do not want to deal with any of these fights because they do not really have anything of value.
Yep, and even our a lot of our clubs that have K-Trap turned on do have vanilla traps on, so you're not unsure where your traps are. This is, I think we said, since World Series of Free Enterprise, the first time we've had K-Trap in a main event. Those trees are very angry.
Yeah. Punchy, too.
But looks like Radical gonna have to take on that Valvalis again. But let's see what Scarcer gets from this check.
It's a defense sword. Still no sign of that adamant rock that we know to be down here.
But we see Radical looks like gonna go ahead and try and bring Valvalis out of her spin to use magic with these 2 very angry children.
Looks like one of the children is just going to pull out a bow and arrow as opposed to a dragon for once. Always nice to see children mixing it up. Finding their own interests beyond just dragon blarging.
Well, and you've got to figure, when Valvalis goes into her spin, Bahamut takes a little while to cast. It's a lot easier to try and kind of time it if you just got to hit it with an arrow.
Mm-hmm.
But Valvalis, knowing who the real threat is, going after that Eddie pretty hard.
Mm-hmm. That Eddie is hitting for nearly 3. Oh, and Valvalis is down.
Goodbye, Valvalis.
May your bikini tornadoes spin forever in hell.
And hey, it's another Stardust rod.
Oh, hey! But yeah, we are one Magus Sister fight away from CS Radical finishing up. As Scarcer seems... I think that was the Adamant Rock.
That was the Adamant Rock for Scarcer, so that opens up Forge.
Mm-hmm. Which does put Scarcer into go mode.
Yes. Sorry, I had to math.
Right? That's one of those things about this flag set that, I think really trips up a lot of people, is that you'll go from having, okay, I just have my Fey March, and that's what I have for go mode, to, oh god, I'm literally in go mode right now in like 5 minutes. You'll get to an hour in the scene and you'll be like, where's my go mode? I need my go mode. And then all of a sudden you're there, just out of nowhere. It's wild. I love this flag set so much.
And we get the Triton knife for that Palom. That being one of the Game Boy Advance exclusive items that Board has brought into the game that you will get when you play with Sea Hero. And oh hey look, Angry Dragon God.
Mm-hmm.
But Scarcer heading down to take on his Magus Sisters and Balvalis fight. Got lots of levels from all of those trap chests, so should be able to very handily take out these fights. But CS Radical has finished with those Magus Sisters.
It's the Artemis Bow. And is done. With an official time of 1:48, 1:49. We'll have to wait for it to come in. But we'll also see if we can't get CS Radical in here soon. Speaking of, GG's.
Thanks, Oscar. I love the flame dog. Thank you.
Yeah.
I did want to ask about that. Did you realize when you saw that Golbez and you had done everything else on the overworld that you had to do the flame dog to get your underground access?
I'll be completely honest, I was walking up ordeals the second time, I should say, and had a feeling that that's where it was going to be, but I was just too busy going, Demas is there, Tella with magic now. Forget it, we're going to commit to this, and then if it happens to end up being Flame Dog the entire way, then we'll laugh as we take the stroll up just to get a Magma Key and go away. And sure enough, I was right.
Mm-hmm. So, even before then, with the way that this flag set pans out early, what's kind of like your general opening strategy when you see characters like Rydia and Kayn as your starting ones?
Apart from Panic? Well, I mean, hope that you find, summons and stuff, or not summons because it was Palom. Hope you find Stardust Rod. Didn't for a little bit, thank God I did later. Kayn, I just put my head down and went, okay, you're going to do terrible damage and miss a few jumps or in the early stages and really drive me crazy, but, it is what it is. I don't really play the objectives too differently. I still go look for Hobbs, try to get that experience in a character, go to Antlion, try to find something, and just kind of slowly piece things together. Now, you don't go in assuming a Flame Dog's hiding your underground access apart from Hook, but with that party, I had no intention of going to Hook. I don't know if any of our previous finishers decided to go that route first, but I took one look at that party when I had Hook and went, there is nothing that is going to make me want to go there. Even if there's Cecil and I knew there was a Crystal Sword around, I wasn't touching that Hook route for any time soon unless it was desperate.
Well, and you did find that, you did go ahead and find that magma key. What did you think of kind of once you got underground, what you had available to you?
Admittedly really rattled. Taking that long to get underground is never a good feeling when you're in a race, especially a tournament race. And hitting the first 4 chests in Tower of Babel and getting nothing really shook me up, but I'm glad that I said, forget it, we're just committing to the bit and going to Keyless Tower. And it turns out Pan was hiding our tower key anyway, so it worked out in that retrospect. But man, that was one of those, between 45 minutes and about an hour 20, I was absolutely rattled, especially with that Pale Dim fight. I was starting to worry that I wasn't going to get things set up properly, but thankfully getting Rydia blinked enough that I could at least get enough hits in to finish that fight on. Then it was kind of just going, all right, well, we're just getting through bosses one by one. We'll just have to see if we play this out right, and if it works, it works. If it doesn't, oh well, GG's to the other runner, but at least in this case it worked out. I'm not proud of it, but it worked out. That's all that matters in the end.
Yep, definitely. And then near the end, once you got that go mode, what made you go where first?
I figured, well, you guys probably caught me catching the hair dryers because I thought, A, it's a nice bit of XP. Thank God I got double XP when I did, because I was starting to worry about leveling. So I did that. In the odd case that I got Adam and Rocker or the package there, at least it gives me an out on a boss if it's too rude. I didn't think Fey March was going to be one of them, so I was just waiting to see. And at least that Pale Dim was doable at some point. That would have been the one I would have skipped if I had the choice. At that point, I'm like, well, I'm already on the Moon's going to need potentially a character because I hadn't checked that yet. We'll get those done, and then we'll see from there. Because I know that the Fey March bosses are a little more doable just from what I saw, but I figure, well, you know what? We'll get the levels anyway up on the Moon and get that stuff taken care of.
Oh, and you were able to get through it and pull out a win.
Yeah, 2-0. I'm not going to complain with that at all. I mean, I went into this tournament thinking, okay, if I can get one win, I'll take it. And here we are 2-0 so far. So I'm not going to complain one bit. Like I said, I'm not exactly proud of how this race went, but hey, a win's a win. Sometimes you don't really care how, you just care about how many.
Yep. Any last minute thoughts before we let you go for the night?
Oscar, you outdid yourself. Flame Dog Magma Key, and I last locationed the key item I needed, and the other 2 key items that I'm only missing are the ones that I needed for the objectives. Well done. And also, thank you so much, everybody in the booth. I'm sure this will be a fantastic watch when I go and watch this back.
Well, thank you so much. And we will let you go for the night. But again, GG's for being the first with... and going 2-0 for Bimmy and Jimmy Eat World.
Thank you kindly. Y'all have a good rest of your night.
You too. In the meantime, while we were chatting with CS Radical, Scarcerer has completed both of the fights down here in the Fey March.
That Valvalis was being awful rude, but managed to get through and just needs to finish up. I believe it's words. The moon.
Yeah, the thing up there in the sky and stuff.
And while Scarcer is kind of finishing up some checks, why don't we go through our races for tomorrow? Sorry, there are so many channels.
Right? No, I immediately started scrolling through too.
So tomorrow we have Aizen Tayama from Bring Your Own Bacchus against Frankie Bones with Bimmy and Jimmy Eat World at 4 p.m. on Free Enterprise. We have Zalday Last Minute Decisions versus Bursic Badger We Wear Shorts in Winter at 6 p.m. and that will be on a Khadgar link. We have Yoshi Kion versus Soko Sonics at 7 p.m. That'll be on Free Enterprise too. RPG Mel from Bibby and Jimmy Eat World versus Guren Bring Your Own Bacchus at 8 p.m. on Free Enterprise. Megalink, it's Bacchus O'Clock Somewhere versus Professional Renderer Massidian Comedy Club on Khadgar at 8 p.m. Tybalt, We Wear Shorts in Winter versus Starman, The Last Minute Decisions on Khadgar at 8 p.m. Y'all really love this 8 p.m. time. The Bardic Panda Last Minute Decisions versus Heart Gamer 26 We Wear Shorts in Winter also at 8 p.m. on Khadgar, and Sorbius Team No Springs versus Dr. Cossack Svera Petting Zoo at 9 p.m. tomorrow on Khadgar.
GG.
There are a lot of runners tomorrow.
Yeah.
But we see Scarcer has that pan, got that tower key, gonna go ahead and take out the Baigen that is on the tower route.
I do not blame them for making this play. This is probably faster than going all the way down to the bottom of the tower, even if it is just Dr. Luge. Plus, it's a much easier fight that will go by in 3 swings Earthquake.
Goodbye, right arm.
See? Like I said, he's armless.
But that does leave us with just one more objective left. I do believe that taking out that Pale Dim at Bahamut would probably be the fastest objective for Scarcer.
I have to agree, unless they make the really off-the-wall guess to go into the Giant.
I mean, I think at this point, well, no, there's still the hairdryer's chest.
Yeah, so the question is, do you coin toss it, or do you go for the sure thing at the Bahamut spot? I think with the bosses you've seen out of the pool, most of the nasty stuff that could be there is already taken care of. So I would just go fight Bahamut at this point.
Oh, definitely. Although if I saw something like a Mob Bomb there, I might be, no, can we not?
Yeah, or Antlion.
Yeah, Antlion's pretty bad too, although we did see Antlion at Music.
I will be honest, I was too busy rocking out and paying attention to the other runners to remember what the music boss was.
But we see Scarcer heading up to the moon and gonna be taking on that last objective.
Mm-hmm. Debating whether or not to go for the Masamune Altar Bahamut settles on Cave Bahamut.
Remembers to save. Always the most important thing to do. You never want to forget to save and lose 20 minutes of progress or 35 minutes of progress.
Yeah, just remember, abs, always be saving.
And does switch out to Artemis bows, knows that both Sparkles left have to be a dragon, or Artemis arrows, so will do quite a bit of damage with those Artemis arrows to this Pale Dim.
Mm-hmm.
And Artemis arrows, good. We like those.
Oh yeah, they are the best arrows for a reason. And that reason is...
Doot, 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 doot. Pale Dim is very obnoxious in that every time you hit him, he casts Slow. Slow is a very obnoxious spell. Ain't nobody got time for this. Pale Dim,
Yeah.
didn't you hear this was a race?
That said, Pale Dim it just casts slow and punches. Doesn't really do much of anything else, so as long as you don't summon at it, you just...
Or hit it with an elemental spell.
Yeah, I've made that mistake before. But the fight is over. The day is won.
And with that, Scarcerer has finished their 6th objective, gets a glass hat, and gets to finish up, completes Cave Bahamut, all 6 objectives complete, and we'll see if we can't get them in for an interview.
Yep. Why, hello there. GG's.
GG indeed.
So kind of walk us through how you felt about that seed.
I felt like I did Eblan Castle far too early.
Yeah, like, on the one hand, Eblan Castle is that really, really good pile of experience points. And, it's 3 key item checks. On the other hand, holy frick, everything in there hits too hard.
Yeah, I also didn't realize how easy Ordeals was going to be.
Well, and then the case of the missing magma key.
Yeah, I should have went with my gut and checked Updog before Baron in.
Now, once you did Baronet, did you know that it could not be behind that Golbez, and knew that it had?
Yeah, I knew about Golbez.
And then kind of walk us through your underground when everything really started to open up.
I felt vindicated at every turn. It was great. I did Dwarf Castle before checking my freebies and got Darkness. Legend Sword was in the Feymarch freebie, and I'm glad I did all the Sylph chests before turning in the pan, because I definitely would have gone for the Masamune altar if I didn't get the Adamant Rock.
Yeah, and that is such a long walk down. No matter how easy or hard the fight is, it's just a long walk.
Yeah, my legs were tired.
Yeah. So, my question is always just like, so with the way that this flag set changes up, kind of like the default patterns of free enterprise play, how do you feel about just like that tension between doing checks versus looting versus doing shopping?
I really like it. I like this. I've been really enjoying this flag set, and sometimes it does feel like supermarket sweep. But I know that that'll always get the most value out of doing a key item check.
And before we let you go, any last minute thoughts on the flag set, on the tournament itself? Anything you want to share with us?
I really wish Witchburn wasn't on because that makes Wyvern more stressful in most cases. But other than that, I'm good. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And again, GG's.
GG.
And with that, our time here tonight has come to an end. Thank you all so much for hanging out while Allie and I just chatted and watched four fantastic runners put on a show for us. Be sure to give each and every one of them a follow. I just want to give a quick shout out to our lovely restreamer, Oscar, our wonderful trackers, Maggie the Cat and Soapbox Gamer, and of course, my ever wonderful co-commentator, Allie Sale.
It is always a pleasure, Leggy. I love doing comms with you, so right back at you.
But with that, you all know what's going on tomorrow, thanks to Allie doing it all in, what was that, one breath? 2 breaths?
2 breaths.
Okay, 2 breaths. But this is our last race for the evening, so we're going to send you all on over to Dr. Cossack to watch some more of one of our other excellent runners preparing. Hold on. We will be sending this on as soon as we can find someone who can send the raid. But that does give me the time to make sure I tell you, do not spoil this race, or the Wyvern will barg you.
And y'all have a wonderful night, and we will see y'all next time. Later, y'all.